Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match reaction, two in 2 days for the second game of the Sela Cup. I'm Scott. I'm your host for this one, and I'm joined today by Daryl and Iain. Daryl, looking dapper with your new heat sharpening. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah. You know, it is the last 2 days. I've been trying to think. It's a preseason game, and it doesn't. How it's like quite a toned down thing, and but actually the last 2 days, and I think today in particular, having watched the games, it's actually got us buzzing for this week. So it's like being back in the middle of a season. It's great.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be back at St James's Park. I think we were saying this yesterday, and just nice to see the fans in the ground and everything.
Yeah.
Iain, mate, you were there yesterday. How are you, and how was yesterday?
Yeah, really good. And yesterday was canny. It's not the first time I've done where it's been like a double or triple header. It was when the Olympics were on. They did something similar. They cleverly, though, changed it, or attempted to change it yesterday, where you couldn't re-enter the ground if you left, but then because of contactless and card readers not working, and then I know there's been a whole debacle today, so teething issues, but got a chance to try out the digital tickets. Absolutely no bother at all. Got in.
Nice.
But yeah, it was good. Miserable day yesterday weather-wise, but watched the first game. I think it was Villarreal against Nice. Some decent player. Nice have got some decent players, mind. And then obviously watched our match. And yeah, it was good. Nice to see some goals and some clean sheets as well.
Yeah, well, Chris and I did do a reaction to the game yesterday, but we will focus on the Villarreal game today. It finished 4-0, but before we get into the full match, Iain, we'll talk about the lineup. Obviously, yesterday we kind of had half of what you'd expect a starting 11 to be, and it seems like we had the other half today. What was your initial thoughts on the starting 11?
Given that yesterday's back four was probably your starting 11 minus Alex Murphy at centre half in the absence of Cher, he expected sort of a makeshift back four today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll touch on that and how well or how nervy they looked. But yeah, I expected changes. I didn't realise Longstaff was back to fitness. I knew he had picked up a little bit of a knock or a little bit of a niggle in America. So the midfield three of obviously Bruno, Joelinton, Longstaff, which was a regular last season. I thought sort of it was more or less what we've come to see and know of them. Very interested for Harvey Barnes, see how he got on. And then I was quite surprised actually how busy Richie looked. I thought he by all accounts looked quite decent, and then obviously Callum Wilson up top with Isak starting yesterday. So it's nice to have, although I wouldn't say it's necessarily two starting 11s because there are some players there that I just don't think cut the mustard. But it's nice to see that if you wanted to, you could make up a second 11 of Premier League. I'll use that term loosely with some of the Premier League standard quality, but and not have to use like the youngins and stuff like that. So it's nice to see in terms of the squad, we are bolstering, we are getting the extra numbers in and getting that little bit of depth in.
Yeah, Daryl, I mean, the subs bench was, I think it was pretty identical to yesterday.
It was,
I think
yeah.
it was one or two differences,
yeah.
but it was the same, wasn't it? Same keeper and everything. Obviously, you don't want to say a weaker substitutes bench, but it wouldn't be a bench you'd expect to see next week, for example.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, I think probably out of the 22 players that he's used to start the two games in the last 2 days, whoever isn't playing, whoever doesn't start next week against Aston Villa will certainly be sitting on that bench, and it'll be, what it is. I think for the first time in a while, it'll probably look like a pretty strong bench, especially in terms of our eyes and our views and us looking at it. For us, it's going to be a relatively strong bench, and it's going to be really nice to see that. And you mentioned about certain players coming in from the fringes and starting today. I think what we're going to learn very well, what we already knew to a degree, and what we will learn even more is just how versatile this squad is, how flexible it can be. We've got a lot of players in the squad now who can play different positions. You're talking some of them can play 2 or 3 different positions just on their own. So there's going to be a lot of flexibility, and I think that's even better for Eddie Howe tactically, in terms of trying to switch things up when required and having different game plans and really making it difficult for opposition teams to work out how we're going to play.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to see. Like I say, I think last season, once we had a couple of injuries, that bench looked
It
very,
was
very
bare
weak.
bones, yeah.
I don't think that. I mean, obviously we can still get injuries, and it could be the case in this season, but it won't look as bad, I don't think. We'll jump straight into the game, and we'll magically jump straight into the game, and we'll start with the first goal because it was only 6 minutes. That it took for Jacob Murphy to score. Ian, do you want to talk us through it? Do you want to? Can you remember it? It seemed like
you know what it is. I was sat up until we scored the second. I was sat thinking, well, really, the only thing we've done is Jacob Murphy's goal, and I remember it vividly now because obviously we scored another 3. I don't really remember that. I know that we're obviously the first 5-10 minutes. I thought were very, very good, and we pressed them, were in control. I think the ball's played over from the left and sort of breaks in the box, and then Murphy picks it up, sort of knocks it out to get half a yard to get a strike away, and it's a great strike, like really, really good strike. And we've seen that he has, we've seen that he's got that in his locker. Obviously, I think there was the shot in the cup final against Man U where he took that from miles out and sort of like hit across it, and it just swerved past the post. And then his goal last season in the 6-1 against Spurs. So he's got that in his locker. And I thought he looked very, very confident after the early goal. I know he went down the right hand side because he was playing. I thought he would potentially play as a wing back, but it seemed like he was sort of a natural full back with a back 4 rather than the back 3 and the full backs, wing back. Sorry. So he was getting down that right-hand side, very similar to what Trippier does, but he was cutting in a lot more, and I think there was a class bit of play where he sort of like did a Cruyff turn between 2 defenders and drew a foul. So it was nice to see he's continued his good form and his upturning form from last season as well. So but it was a really good goal, and I know Pepe Reina's 40, but he's still he was a very, very good goalkeeper. Probably his reactions aren't as good, and we'll come to some of his or what he could have done better in I think it was the 3rd goal. But Jacob Murphy's goal, really, really good. Nice to see him on the score sheet. And should I tell you what I loved as well? His celebration, the baseball.
Yeah.
That was great. Nice little touch to the video that was seen in the American tour. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a corner that came in from Richie, which started that play. And then, like I said, it fell to Murphy, Daryl, and you're expecting him to hit it first time, but he took a touch, composed himself, got past that man running out to him, and it just opened up for him.
Yeah, I think it's probably a sign that he's really trying to improve his game as well, and not try and do everything based on instinct. So he's took that touch, and the touch just bought him a second, and then to get it then past the player that was approaching him to try and defend. And once he had done that, he had him on toast and he was away. And like you say, just to be able to generate that power and that pace on the shot from that angle as well. It's not an easy thing to do, and he really took it so well. I mean, it caught Pepe Reina it caught him off guard a little bit because it was already past him before he even started moving towards it. So, but it was really nice to see. And like Ian said, it takes you back to a couple of bits from last season. Particularly that one for me was the one in the goal against Spurs in the 6-1 because the way he struck it, it was very similar. Obviously, it wasn't from 30 yards out, and it didn't have to swerve all over the place and go in at the opposite side of the goal. But it was very similar in terms of pace and power. So we've talked a lot about needing reinforcements on that side of the pitch, but you think with all the attacking midfielders that we now have, we've got about a little pool there of about 5 or 6. So for me, I don't think it'll be that much of a priority. I know people will call into question the quality that Murphy brings, but the lad's earned it in the last 18 months to have that chance. And, we all know as fans that if we were given that chance and we had the opportunity to play for this club in the Champions League, I mean, that lineup, whenever he makes that Champions League, if he starts a Champions League game and he's in that lineup when the camera scrolls down before kickoff, all you're just going to see is that look on his face that he had after he scored that second goal against Spurs. and he'll just have a wide mouth open. He'll just be smiling. It'll be great.
Yeah, long may it continue. Obviously, we've also got Mickey Almer on it and played on that side as well.
He's been really good pre-season.
Yeah, another good pre-season. We talked about it yesterday, Chris and I. He was my man of the match yesterday. But we'll move on to the second goal, because after that first goal, wasn't really much going on. The game just got a bit sloppy, got a bit scrappy.
Yeah.
There was yellow cards being branded left, right, and centre. It seemed like the referee maybe lost control a little bit as well. So we'll jump straight to the second goal, because, like I said, I don't think there was much, if anything, to talk about. I think Harvey Barnes had a chance, which was saved. And I know we spoke yesterday about Anthony Gordon getting these chances and not taking them. But Daryl's second goal, Harvey Barnes gets his first goal for Newcastle, first goal at St James's. And it's a lovely little piece of build-up play.
It really is. I mean, you've got Callum Wilson breaking down the right-hand side, just to quickly review that. And, at one point it looks like he loses the ball completely with a bad touch, but he's able to rescue it. And it's very clever and very aware of him to pick out Joe Linton at this point in the attack, who's coming in on the edge of the box, I think, with Bruno as well. There is another player in there with him. I can't remember if it's Bruno or Longstaff.
Yeah, it's Bruno.
But yeah, so you've got the two of them coming in. Harvey Barnes is on the other side making an overlap, and he finds himself in some space there. And Bruno ends up in the furthest advanced position at that point, because that's when the ball is played, and they're both on side as well. And he takes the ball off from the pass from Joe Linton really well, and it's just a great finish. I think it's more of a textbook Harvey Barnes finish as well. I think it's something that we see from him from his Leicester days, much like what we'll get onto with the fourth goal as well. But it's very much his style of goal. He just shifts it onto his strong foot and he just bends it in. Again, Pepe Reina doesn't really have much of a chance for this. But it was such a good finish. And like you say, the build-up to it was what really caught the eye.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about the next couple of goals in a minute, and they both had pretty decent build-up play, Ian. But it's nice to see Harvey Barnes break his duck. Well, get his first goal. He's only been his second game, I think, for her. So yeah, I mean, it's what he's been brought in to do. Are you expecting him to? We're going to see a lot of that this season. Do you reckon?
You would hope so. I think that's one thing that would lacked was goals from that area, particularly left with St Maximin. Obviously, I know Gordon's had I think he's had a good pre-season, so it's going to be a nice headache to have, but not just a headache, a case of both of them very, very good quality players, and they do offer something slightly different, but I think if Anthony Gordon can add goals to his games, it's going to be pretty much a 50-50 who's going to start, who's going to come on throughout the whole season. It was nice to see. I thought he did look, Barnes, thought he looked very, very confident. He was wanting to drive at the defence. He looked like he was carrying the ball really well. So really, really good to see. And like Daryl said, his finish is very, very natural. Just opens his body up and then bends it around the keeper. So I thought he attempted quite good link-up play with Wilson. It didn't quite come off sometimes. Sometimes the pass was a little bit behind where it should be, but there was a nice little relationship developing with the two of them as well.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Callum Wilson, Daryl. We made a couple of comments in the group chat that he seemed a bit isolated today, similar to Isak yesterday, where things weren't really, working for him until he almost went out wide. He almost dropped out a bit right when he was coming deep and was able to pick up the ball, and was seen out for that first goal. And we'll not talk about the fourth goal yet, but he did very similar in there. And I made a comment saying, look, the difference this season could be that you've got Isak and Wilson over the last two games have got 3 assists. Do you think that's something that Eddie Howe has noticed and think, do you know what, I'm going to need players getting in the box for Isak and Wilson to get more than just goals?
Absolutely. I think, this, we seem to have been, you want to be reliant on your strikers to get all your goals for you, but you don't want to be over-reliant on them. Yeah. And it's nice that the strikers can then be able to go to the other side and provide assists for the advanced midfielders. And like we said before, we've now got a little pool of advanced midfielders and attacking midfielders in the squad who we know can put the ball in the back of the net. So it's going to be good all around. And I think, I know we did really well in terms of the amount of goals we scored last season, but on that premise from today and the improvement that we've seen this pre-season, we could see more. And if we don't see more in terms of total value, we'll at least see more from different parts of the pitch. And if you combine that with Isak and Wilson even matching anything close to what they did last season, then there's a lot of goals in this team. And like you say, I think it's been done tactically so that we can really exploit that and generate these different possibilities. And like I said before, it just means there's another dimension to how we play, and it just makes it more difficult for opposition teams to deal with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, half-time with 2-0 up, Iain. We'd already won this.
Or was it not 1-0?
It was 1-0 at half-time.
1-0 half-time, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Then got 3 goals second half. We'd already kind of won this before the game started. Did you expect the 2-0 down? That would be it? We'd probably just bring on a few more of the youngsters and just kind of save some energy, or do you think this was kind of Eddie's last chance to get 90 minutes out of some of these players? And we saw what happened. Towards the end of it, and we'll come to the goal in just a second. But were you surprised there was no changes at halftime? Were you surprised there was no changes kind of early in that second half?
No, based on what I seen yesterday. So he pretty much played 90 minutes of the players that were potential starting 11. So I expected very much the same today. Like you say, it was the same bench. So a couple of minutes for the youth team, the fringe players, but it's probably given him his best idea of what his starting 11 is for next week. Obviously, there's a week of training, so that could have an impact, but didn't expect anything other than maybe the last 10 minutes, that's when he would start making changes. But I think as well, it goes to the mentality of Eddie Howe as a manager that it's pre-season friendly. Realistically, it's a nothing cup unless we somehow get 100 million for winning it, which would be great. But even yesterday, so because I was sitting in the East Stand yesterday, I was looking directly across to where the director's box were, and it was when Nice were playing Villarreal. Eddie Howe had like a game an hour ahead of time in the sort of time, and he's sitting watching how Villarreal play. Him and Jason Tyndall in the director's box, the director's box, and they're watching how Villarreal play. And I think it's a testament to him how professional and how like driven he is to do his scouting and to get the best performances out of players. So didn't surprise us at all that that's what he would do. But again, it's just more minutes in the legs for those that are going to be sort of starting next week as well. Yeah.
Well, we'll come to the third goal. Iain, we'll stick with you. Obviously, it was a Joel Linton run from, I think it was almost the halfway line. That first
inside the own half,
Yeah, that first touch just takes Claire out of it. Do you want to walk us through it?
Yeah, I remember this. I remember this one. So yeah, the ball breaks, and it's.
I mean, if you don't mind,
he's touched around the defender like he's not even there. Very similar to the ball when he got played over against Spurs, and he just takes his touch, like his first touch for. Considering 18 months ago he had a shot that he managed to kick himself in the head with. Like it just shows how far he's come as a player. And what I really like to see as well is we all know sort of Joe Linton's like a bit of a battering ram in terms of his like defensive side of the game, but he's a very, very powerful runner. Like he's an absolute tank. And I feel if anyone was up next to him, it would have probably just bounced off him. But yeah, really, really strong run through the middle. And then it's what's nice as well is outside the box, whereas obviously with him signing as a striker, that's where you would feel he would be more prolific, and it just shows that the confidence that he's got to take a shot on from a little bit further out, and it's a really good finish. So it's nice to see him score as well, because what it is, I really love Joe Linton. It's just dead canny, isn't he?
Yeah, Daryl, it looked like the shot took a little deflection the way the keeper reacted, but it didn't seem to. Do you think maybe the keeper should be doing better there?
I really do, actually. And it's like when, like you say, the instant reaction when you see the way Pepe Reina reacts to that is it's come off the defender, hasn't it? Really, it's wrong-footed him somehow. And then when you watch it back and you think, well, the defender's actually nowhere near him. So, and we all know how mint Joe Linton is, but I'm pretty sure he's not that good where he can like hit the ball at the right angle from when he's hit it to try and fool a goalkeeper. But yeah, it really should be doing better. And I think it was after the fourth goal, which we'll get onto, but there seemed to be some sort of inquest going on directly after that, and I think Pellegrino was really not happy with the defenders at that point. But just to quickly mention that first touch to take it around the defender, such a good touch, unreal touch. And as soon as he had done that, he was away. And like Ian said, such a good run into the area outside of the box, and to just put it in is really, really good. And do you know what it is as well? It was really interesting because he had Harvey Barnes on the left screaming for it at the same time, and he's just thought, "You've had your fun, I'm having mine this time." And then he just buries it, and it's such a good goal. It's such a good counter-attacking goal as well, and that's been another strength to our game that we've had for a little while now. And it's really nice to see that it's not necessarily your quick attacking midfielders that you're relying on to provide that as well. It's good to see Joe Linton be able to break forward and do it. And I think we'll probably see it from Bruno, and we'll probably even see it from Tonali at some point during the season as well, because I reckon they've all got that sort of thing in their locker. And it was such a good goal to score. Really was.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that Harvey Barnes not getting his joy there, but pretty much minutes later was you blinking the third goal was coming in. He does get his second of the day, Daryl. It's another nice run from Wilson to start it off. Again, I'll leave it to you to walk us through it.
Yeah, it's a very similar position to where he was for the second goal of the game in Harvey Barnes' first. But this time the cross is direct to Harvey, and he does so well to just get it under control and put it away. Again, like we said before, it's a very much a what you would call a textbook Harvey Barnes goal. It's right out of his playbook, something we can expect to see a lot more of this season. And I think, he really has played himself into contention to start next week against Aston Villa. I think, I mentioned it in the group chat. I'm glad I don't have to have these headaches that Eddie Howe has to when it comes to team selection, because I don't know how I would do it. It's going to be so interesting to see. And I think I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks now with everything that we've seen during pre-season there. I think Eddie started pre-season, especially in America, he changed the formation, and we sort of tested out a three at the back formation with wing backs. And we've also seen it was pretty evident in some of the games, late on in some of the games, that it switched and we started playing like a 4-2-3-1. And that goes in hand with Eddie's traditional 4-3-3 that he used last season. So again, we've talked about it, the players' flexibility as a whole means that we can now start to think about different systems for different types of games. And it's going to be really interesting to see how we do that, especially now that we've got all these Champions League games to come as well. We'll probably see something where there is a bit of a switch. It's going to be really good to see, and I can't wait. And I think today's performance, it took 10 minutes to get the 3 goals to finish the game off after getting the first in the first half. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And like I say, it's set me up on such a good mood for this week, and I can't wait for next weekend to come round. Can it come quick enough?
Yeah, well, that pretty much is the last of the events in the game, if you will. Obviously, a few of the young ones came on after that, and it ended 4-0. We do end up lifting the Sela Cup.
That prize money, yeah.
The trophy had the Newcastle crest on it.
Crest,
so, I don't know. And it was almost black and white stripes. So I don't know what people were expecting, yeah. But yeah, Sela Cup champions, you'll never sing that. We are the reigning and only Sela Cup champions. And yeah, I mean, obviously we all know it. It is what it is. It's like the one we won last season over in Saudi Arabia. Well, I think that one has a bit more of a stand in Saudi Arabia. I think that's quite a big deal over there from what I remember them talking about. But saying that, I can't remember the name of the cup, so there you go. But that leaves us here undefeated in pre-season. I think it's 5 wins and 2 draws. It's a nice feeling not to lose in pre-season.
It is, and given the way it started as well, where we're 2-0 down against Gateshead, and I was absolutely sodden and still have a cold from it. There's been different kinds of results. Obviously, we went behind against Gateshead, had to grind out a result. Were blown away by Villa very early on. Given that that's the first opponent next season as well, I thought that was a very good standard of pre-season friendly, to be honest. Again, came back and went in half-time level, went another goal down, and then got ourselves back in it. Again, same against Chelsea. I thought we looked the better of the sides before they scored. They've scored, and then we've clawed it back. Then we went down against Brighton as well, and then come up with a winner in the last 5 minutes. So it shows the grit and determination. It would be nice to have a lead and not have to worry about that. But like I say, those 2 games over the weekend showed that, and it's not against any slouches either. Like Fiorentina, they have just been in the Conference League final. Villarreal are a very good technical Spanish side. I thought they made it difficult. They very, very much broke up any sort of rhythm in the game, whether that being fouling, whether that being by keeping possession. But it's been a really nice pre-season. Nice to see some good results. And very much like Daryl, I'm very excited to see what we do against Villa. Even more so because I'll be on my holidays then, so I'll be drinking maybe a pina colada because I'm a cocktail kind of guy.
Lovely.
There you go. Well, that is it for pre-season. That's it for this reaction as well. We move on to next week, the beginning of the 2023 to 2024 season. It's finally here, boys. I cannot wait. This week will be full of content on this channel. We're going to have match previews, match reactions. I think we're even getting a Beyond the Lines with Matty. Obviously, the Always Smiling Faces podcast. Hopefully, in the new studio. My notifications will be going mad because I think Chris has sent a tweet out as we're recording this with some pictures. So we'll get to see the new studio, hopefully. Canny Chatter's back this week. Whole host of content coming your way. And the only way to be notified when new videos go live is to scroll down from this video and hit that little notification bell once you've hit the subscribe button. If you like this video as well, hit the little thumbs up. It helps get this video in the hands of other Newcastle fans. And if you want to go one step further, it's $2.99 a month. It gets you early access to videos like this. It gets you access to the Telegram group, which has been absolutely outstanding. And today we've just launched a Discord group for all of the gamers out there to set up multiplayer games and do voice chat and whatever you want to do. All that comes as part of your membership. Plenty to be had. $2.99 a month. You can't ask for much more. Boys, thanks very much for this one. Enjoy the rest of your Sundays. Thanks you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Ta-da.